This Torah class is brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.
Okay, good night, Shabbos, Rabbi. As we prepare for Parshas Vayeitzey, Vayifka B'Makom, Yaakov Avinu meets the place. Vayolan Sham, and he lodges. Kiva Shemesh. Vayikach me'avnei hamakom. He took from the stones of the place. Plural. Me'avnei hamakom. From the stones of the place. Hamakom. The place. What is the place? And what are these stones? Because elsewhere, when Yaakov Avinu wakes up, they're not stones anymore. Vayashkem Yaakov b'boker. Yaakov wakes up. Vayikach es ha'even. And he took the stone. What do you mean the stone? It was only stones.
Couldn't you have taken one stone from all the stones in the place?
He took from the stones of the place.
From them, you're taking one from them.
But no,
Asher Somer Ashoisav Vayosem Moisa Matseva, and he makes into a Matseva Vayitzog Shemen al Rosh, and he pours oil. Yeah, I know everyone's going to say that you learned 50 years ago that the stones got into a fight and they had quarreled. Olai Aniyah Tzadik Roshai, and all the stones they merged together to one stone. Do you think that's what I'm here to tell you today? The Rashi that you learned 50 years ago? No. What does the Medrash say? That's what Rashi says. But what does the Medrash say? The Medrash in Bereshis Rabbah, Parsha Samaches, Ois Yada, Vayikach me'avnei hamakom. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Nechemia, V'Rabbanan, Rabbi Yehuda Amar, Shteim Esrei Avonim Natal. He took 12 stones. Why? Amar Kach Gazar HaKadosh Baruch Hu. God decreed this. Shehu Mamid Shnei Masar Shvatim. That he would establish the 12 tribes. Avraham lo ha'amidan, Yitzchak lo ha'amidan. Avraham did not establish them. Yitzchak did not establish them. Ani, but I, imis achos hein shteim esrei avanim zu lazu. If these 12 stones fuse and merge together, yoidea ani shani mamid shnei masar shvatim. That will be the sign, that will be the signal that I will establish the 12 tribes. None of this business that the stones were fighting. Is it an argument? Maybe not, but that's not what we're discussing this one. The Medrash says Yaakov took 12 stones. He said, I know there's supposed to be 12 Shvatim. They didn't come from Abraham, they didn't come from Yitzchak. Will they come from me? Only time will tell. I'll take the 12 stones. If I wake up in the morning and there's one stone, that's the signal, that's the sign that I will establish the 12 tribes. And sure enough, he woke up in the morning, and he got the message that he will be the progenitor of the 12 Shvatim. If you look in the Arachayim HaKadosh says, what is this stone? V'ha even hazois. Says the Arachayim, Yireh, it would appear, Ki hi zu even Hashisiya. This is the foundation stone. Right? This Wednesday we learned about going to the Harabayas. And if you didn't hear the Shiur, if you weren't here on Wednesday, you should have been here. We learned about going to the Harabayas. And of course, if you go there today, which you're not allowed to, you would see, and you can see pictures, what they claim to be the Even Hashisiya. Is it the Even Hashisiya?
Isn't the Even Hashisiya another name for the Beis HaMikdash?
No.
Because in the Shanis we say, because one of the Shanis Even Hashisiya, Beis HaBechira.
Beis HaBechira is one thing, and Even Hashisiya is another thing.
I thought they were all just
different parts. Vayikach, says the Arachayim HaKadosh, this stone would appear to me as the Even Hashisiya. Shehizmino leMikdash, that Yaakov designated for the Mikdash. Says the Arachayim HaKadosh, this is not the only thing Yaakov designated for the Beis HaMikdash. We find he also designated Atzei Shittim. He planted in Beersheba. He planted the Atzei, the cedar wood, the acacia wood, or the Shittim wood for the Mishkan. And that could be what Hashem intended when He said Va'asuli Mikdash, meaning from that which was already prepared, because 2 items were prepared by Yaakov Avinu. Now the Arachayim HaKadosh was not the first one to explain that this Even was the Even Hashisiya. The Chizkuni also brings down Even Hashisiyahi Shemimena nishtas ha'olam. This is the foundation stone from where the world was created. Now what does that mean?
So he didn't gather 12 stones, it's only one stone.
What does that mean? What does that mean? Well, the Gemara in Yuma says, well, before we get to the Gemara in Yuma, look at number 8. A different Gemara in Yuma says, why is it called Even Hashisiya? What does Hashisiya mean? Tana. Shamimeno hushtas ha'olam. From there the world was created. So I'll ask you a very simple question. What do you mean from there the world was created? The world was created from a stone that really started off as 12 stones, turned into one stone that Yaakov Avinu found 2,000 years after the world was created. How was the world created from a stone? Isn't the Even? Where is the Even Hashisiya? Where is it? Is it in the Kodesh HaKadoshim?
In the center of the earth, you know.
Well, this is you would think it's the Tabor Haaretz, it's the center point of the earth. And that's the kasha of the Zohar HaKadosh. How could you say the stone of Yaakov Avinu, which was rolling around by his head, was the center stone from which the whole world was created? How was the world created from a stone that was rolling around on the Har HaBayis? This is the kasha. Look at number 6. The Zohar HaKadosh in Parshas Noach. Pasach Rabbi Yehuda v'Yamar. Rabbi Yehuda began and said, V'ho'even azois asher samti matzeva yia beis Elokim. Dahi Even Hashisiya. This is the foundation stone. Demitaman ishtel alma. From there the world was created. V'Allah ispani be'mikdasha. And on there the Beis Hamikdash was built. Threcht. The Zayar Omar Le Sheilna have a kasha Amada Amrit B'Psukada on that which you said. V'ho'even as I said Shasamti Matzeva Yi Beis Elokim the Even Hashisiya. Hey Chefsher, how is it possible? The Even Hashisiya Da'ad Lo Yisri Alma Havos, that it was there from before the world was created. Umina Ishtal Alma, and from there the world was founded. V'ad Amrit Shasamti. Wait a second. How did Yaakov Avinu put down the stone from which the world had been created 2,000 years earlier? It doesn't make any sense. Yaakov Avinu says, Asher Samti Matzeva. And the Zohar HaKadosh goes on to answer this question, Al Pi Kabbalah. And what we would like to do today is answer this question, Al Pi Pshat. The Rishonim say, the Chizkuni says, the Arachaim HaKadosh says, that the stone that Yaakov Avinu slept on and then later made into a matzeva was the Even Hashisiya. So how in the world could that have been the stone from which the world was created? So the Reb David Luria, the Radal, wrote a commentary on the Pirkei Rebbe Elazar, and in number 9, before we see his commentary, we have to add another question. So I was learning Mishnayos with my son, and we're learning Masechta Yuma. And Masechta Yuma talks about how the Torah, the Kohen Gadol, puts on in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, Bein Habadim, between the two poles of the Aron. But what about in the Mikdash Sheni, when there was no Aron? What about Mikdash Rishon, 100 years before, when the Aron was Nignaz? Well, says the Mishnah, number 7, Mishanit al Aron, when the Aron was taken, Even Hoysasham, there was a stone there. From when was the stone there? Miyamois Neviim Rishainim, from the days of the early prophets. What was it called? Ushtiya Hoysa Nikres, it was called Even Hashisiya. And how high was it? Gavai Amin Aretz Shalosh Etzbais. 3 fingers above the ground. By the way, Rabbi Chil Michal Tekachinsky in his Sefer, Ir HaKodesh VaMikdash, brings down, there are those who challenge that the stone today in their mosque cannot be the Even Hashisiya because it's a lot more than 3 fingers above the ground. To which he says, well, who knows over time what got chiseled away, what didn't. Be it as it may, whether it is or not, I don't understand something. The Mishnah says, when did the stone get there? Miyamois Neviim Rishainim, from the early prophets. So could someone please tell me when the stone got there? Was it the stone that Yaakov lay down on? Was it the stone that Yaakov was Samti Matzeva? Yaakov was not one of the early prophets. Yaakov came before the early prophets. So we have the Chizkuni and the Zohar and Arachaim, they say it was there from Yaakov. And we have the Mishnah, and Yuma says it was from Nevi'im Rishonim. And then we have the concept that it was the Even Hashisiya, the Gemara says, from there the world was created. So was the world created from there? Did Yaakov put it there? Or did the Nevi'im put it there? It's a simple question. How did the Even Hashisiya get there?
Isn't it also the place that Yaakov made the Korban? Noach made the same place the Korban. The same Mizbech was the same place.
No, it doesn't say that. That stone was Yaakov made the Matzeva, you mean?
Yeah. Also
Back there.
Or the Mizbeach. Well, we're going to see soon another thing that happened on that stone. About the Makom HaMizbeach, we do have a tradition that Noach and Adam used a Mizbeach. It doesn't say here that he made a Mizbeach. Okay, it might have been the same place, but it doesn't say over here that Yaakov.
You have a tradition that even Adam Kain was Markov, then Noach.
Okay, but it doesn't. Yaakov wasn't Markov anything here. Okay, it doesn't say any. No, on the Mizbeach. So here we're talking about a specific stone. They were Markov Karbanos on the Even Hashisiya, right? Because the Mizbeach is not in the Kodesh HaKodashim. Check the Rambam. Look in the Rambam okay, but that's what we. So that's the question. When did the stone get there? So Rabbi David Luria, in his commentary on the Pirkei de Rabbi Elazar, he quotes the Zohar, and the idea that the Even Hashisiya is Mimena Hishis Olav Tevel, and he brings down another Zohar that this stone was the corner point from where the world was created. And he quotes the Gemara in Yuma. And here it says it got there from the days of Yaakov. And he says this is the Kasha, the Zohar. How could you say the world was created from there if it was put there in the days of Yaakov? Look at the last 4 lines. Mashma. The answer is like this. Shetabur ha'aretz nivra mikvar. The navel of the world, the center point of the world, the Even Hashisiya, which is the center point of the world, was created before the world. And from there the world was created. However, when Yaakov set up the Matzeva, on this location, this stone became an adjunct to the center stone of the universe and gave further permanence to the world. In other words, there's something called Even Hashisiya. That's the center stone of the world. That was there before the world got there. That is not exactly the stone that Yaakov Avinu was lying on. Yaakov Avinu was lying on a different stone. But that different stone that Yaakov erected as a matzeva, it gave more chizuk and kayach and more hakama and more ha'amada to the Even Hashisiya, and it was also called Even Hashisiya. In other words, it did more of the same. So it was given the same name. That's what Rabbi David Luria writes. 1 second. So it comes out, we really haven't answered our question about how does that reconcile with the Mishnah and Yuma, that the Even Hashisiya was placed there from the days of the Nevi'im Rishonim. Right? Because now we're saying the world was created from a center stone in the middle of the earth. And when Yaakov erected the Matzeva, it became an adjunct to that stone. Okay. But what does the Mishnah mean? That Miyamais Nevi'im Rishonim, the Even Hashisiya was placed there. Well, maybe you'll say like this, that in the days of the Nevi'im Rishonim, they discovered the stone of Yaakov Avinu. So the Even Hashisiya is the center stone of the universe from where the world was created. Yaakov Avinu, his stone gave further permanence to the world, and that stone was later discovered by the times of the Nevi'im Rishonim. However, I want to read to you the words of the Pirkei de Rabbi Elazar. And we're going to see a new insight into what actually happened with this stone. Okay? Now, you're going to see words over here. They became a very popular song. So now you'll know where to find them in the Pirkei Rabbi Elazar. Okay? This is the Pirkei Rabbi Elazar, Perek Lamed Hey. Hishkim Yaakov b'fachad gadol. Yaakov woke up in great fright. Yaakov was sleeping! And he woke up! And he said, this is where the house of God will be. Mikana Talomed Shakal HaMispalel B'Makom Hazeh B'Yerushalayim Ki'ilu Hispalel L'fnei Kisei HaKavod. You know that song? Kal HaMispalel. You don't know that song? Bim Kaim Hazeh B'Yerushalayim. So now you know where it is. Kal HaMispalel B'Makom Hazeh B'Yerushalayim. Anyone who downs in this place, it's like you're downing before the Kisei HaKavod. That's not called davening. Sheshar Hashamayim. The gates of heaven are there. Upesach pasuach l'shmaya tefillah. And the gates are open to your tefillah. Shenamar v'zah Hashamayim. And Yaakov gathered the stones, and he found them all one stone. And he made them a matzeva. And oil came down from heaven. Me osa HaKadosh Baruch Hu. What did God do? Nata regel yaminoi. He stuck out his right foot, kiviyachal. V'tava ha'even ad imkei sahaymais. He stepped on the stone of Yaakov and he banged it down into the center of the universe. V'yasa oisa snif la'aretz, and he made it an adjunct to the earth, ka'adam sha'oisa snif la'kipa, like someone who makes an adjunct to the dome. Lefikech nikres even Hashisiya shemisham hu tabor ha'aretz. That's the navel of the earth. Umisham nimtecha karts. That's from the point where the earth was created. The Allah heichal Hashem amin, and on there the Beis Hamikdash stands. In other words, if you want to question how could the stone of Yaakov be the stone from which God created the world, you know what happened? There's a center stone from which God created the world, and when Yaakov Avinu erected his stone on the Temple Mount, God took his leg, his foot, he stepped on it, and he knocked it down all the way to the center stone, making it an adjunct to that center stone. So that stone of Yaakov now becomes part of Even Hashisiya. So here we have it, points out the Sefer, Shvilei Pinchas, that God took the stone of Yaakov. The stone of Yaakov was not discovered by the Nevi'im Rishonim. That's not what they found, because the stone of Yaakov could not have possibly been found. Rebbe Shalom knocked it down into the ground. The Rebbe Shalom banged it to the Even Hashisiya on the ground. So what does it mean the Even was there from the times of the Nevi'im Rishonim? The answer is, the stone they found in the Kodesh HaKadoshim only got there, was only revealed from the times of the Nevi'im Rishonim. It wasn't there before, because from the time of Yaakov Avinu, it was already knocked into the ground. The Nevi'im were the ones who sanctified the stone that's in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, and they put it on the Kodesh HaKadoshim corresponding to the Even Hashisiya of Yaakov Avinu that's now banged into the ground. Okay, so if I were to ask you now, if you were to take, what's the book? Journey to the Center of the Universe? Yeah. What is it called? Jules Verne? How do you like that? Right? Journey to the Center of the Universe. If you would go to the center of the earth, what would you find there? How many stones? 2. One, the original Even Hashisiya that was from which God created the world. And one, the stone of Yaakov Avinu, that banged into the center of the world. Fine. I was never there. But what's the big deal with the stone of Yaakov Avinu? That Rebbe Shalom felt this stone was so central to the world that it needs to go next to that original stone from which God created the world. What's so special about that stone? So let's come back to the first medrash. Yaakov took how many stones? 12. He took 12 stones. What do they represent? 12 shvatim. And Yaakov says, they turn into one, then I know I will be maimed the 12 shvatim. So there's a commentary on the Pirkei Rabbi Elazar with a very interesting name. It's called V'loi Oid Ella. That's the name of the parish. Actually, I saw quoted, look in the Sefer V'loi Oid Ella. I'm thinking to myself, how am I going to find the Sefer V'loi Oid Ella? But really, they came out with a new edition of the Pirkei Rebbe with all the Perushim on it, and Baruch Hashem, one of it was V'loi Oid Ella, and it was written by the Shevet Musar, Rebbe Eliyahu HaKohen, one of the big Bali Musar from the 18th century. And he says, Yesh Lachgar, we could investigate, Ma Kol HaCharoda Hazois Al HaEven Zeh. What's the big commotion with this stone? That the Rebbe Shem had to knock it into the ground until the depths. If these 12 stones represent the 12 tribes, all together, God wanted to show that what's the foundation of this world? That's what I was going to say, but that's not what he says. I was going to say, look, we'll both share it. You see from here that the world stands on the Achdus of Klal Yisrael. That's also a nice pshat. That's also a nice pshat. But listen to what he says. We know Bereshis bara Elokim. That ain't right. Bereshis Bishvil Yisrael Shenikra Reshis Nivra Shamayim Va'aretz. So Rebbe Shem wanted to show that what does the world stand on? Klal Yisrael. And how did he show it? Because this stone, which is the fusion of all 12 Shvatim, this is the founding point of the world. If there's no God, if there's no Klal Yisrael, there's no world. Kedivrei Chazal in Masechta Chagiga. Remember, there's a Masechta called Masechta Chagiga, and we learned a little while ago that how many pillars are there in the world? The Chachamim Aimrim Yud Beis Amudim Oimedes Shenemar Yatziv Gevulos Amim. If I'm not mistaken, in the Sefer from Rav Zilberstein, the 5 volumes on Chumash, he writes that somebody once asked him, we're building a shul, how many pillars should we build it on? It's an interesting question. Like, where in the halacha does it say how many amudim a shul should be built with?
Architecturally speaking.
Just windows. So he paskind that if you're asking me already, 12 amudim, because actually he quoted Baal HaTurim that the world stands on 12 pillars, the 12 shvatim. But here we have it also, that they quote the Gemara in Chagiga, that the world stands on 12 pillars. The Shakadosh Baruch Hu baras ha'olam, and Hashem created the world b'shvil Yisrael, like Chazal say, b'shvil Bereshis, b'shvil Yisrael shenikra Reshis. And since V'lachein Kivan Sho'evan Azois Hem Yud Beis Avanim, since these stones were 12 stones that were connected for the number of Bnei Yisrael, so therefore the Rebbe Shem wanted to show that this is the foundation of the world, as if the world stands on these 12 pillars. Shahabayis nochen aleim va'aleha heichal Hashem. So very interesting, says the Perush, V'lo yoid ella, that why did the Rebbe Shem knock the stone of Yaakov into the center of the world? Because the stone of Yaakov was originally 12 stones. It turned into one. They represent the Yud Beis Shvatim. And Rebbe Shem wanted to show that what does the world stand on? Bereshis, B'shvil Yisrael Shenikra Reshis. So now we could add something very nice. Now what did Yaakov Avinu pour on the stone? Oil. Ask your kasha.
Where did he get the oil from?
Where did he get the oil from?
It was in his step.
So the Pirkei Rebbe says it came down from Shemayim. But the kasha is before we talk about miracles. The kasha is, how do you have oil? We had oil. We know when he comes to Rachel, he cries because he has nothing, because Eliphaz took everything. When he comes to Lavan checks his teeth even. He has nothing because Eliphaz took everything. So how did he have oil? So we once mentioned that there's one thing he maintained possession of, his stick, like it says, Kiba Makli of Artias Yadin Azeh. And in his stick it had a screw-off cap. And what did he store in the right? The good old screw-off cap stick. And what do you keep in the good old screw-off cap stick? Oil. Oil. To do what? To learn at night. How else are you going to learn at night? Right? The Paneach Raza, one of the great Rishonim, who uncovers the mysteries of the Torah, he says, look at number 14, V'kasha, Halo Yalifaz ben Esav Radav Acharav, Elifaz ran after him, V'gaz v'menu kol shaloi, Mehecha nat alim ken Hashem, where did he get the oil from? V'yeshloimar de'makloi nishala, he had a stick, K'dechsiv ki b'makli avat yisayadin, and it was hollow, and he brought with him always, full of oils, to be able to learn Torah at night. So why does Yaakov pour oil on the stick? Well, on the stone. Well, yes, the world stands on Yisrael. Bereshis Varlikim, Bishvil Yisrael Shenik Bereshis. U Bishvil Torah Shenik Bereshis. Rashi says both. Bishvil Yisrael. But does the world just stand on Jews? Jews learning Torah. You need both. So therefore, Yaakov Avinu wanted to show these are the two centerpieces of the world, the two focal points, that's the Evan Hashisiya. That's what the world stands on. The stone of Klal Yisrael, the oil of Torah. So it suggests the Sefer Shvilei Pinchas, but we added a couple of our own additions. That's why Yaakov Avinu pours the oil on the stone. By the way, oil also represents Maisim Tovim, like the pasuk says, "V'shemen al roshcha al yachsar," and this turned out to be the Evan Hashisiya. So conceptually, based on the Sefer V'loi Oid Ella and the Sefer Paneach Raza, the two additions to the Evan Hashisiya are the stone of Yisrael and the oil of Torah, Bereshis Bar Alekim, Bishvil Yisrael Shenikra Reshis, or Bishvil Torah Shenikra Reshis. By the way, the Paneach Raza adds another interesting thing about this stone, is that this was the stone on which Abraham was Ma'aked Yitzchak on the Akedah. So how does that stem with the fact that it was the same Mizbeach? Because the Mizbeach wasn't in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, I don't know. But that what it says, V'yikach me'am ne'amakim me'avonim shenekad aleim Yitzchak. The gematria of Hamakim is Bi'akedah. Now I'm going to tell you something I guarantee you never heard before. If anyone out there ever heard this before, let me know. I'm sure somebody heard, but this way it gets people's juices flowing. It gets them. They're going to say they said. Everyone's going to say they said it before, right? There's a Taisvis on Chumash.
I heard it before.
Yeah. One second. This stone, v'ha'even hazos, this stone. Amru aloisa even. They said about this stone, Kishahayu malin oisa bedimos. When they try to lift it up and put it into the building, Haisa mapelas atzma, it threw itself out. You know why? It said, what are you putting me into a building for? Beis HaMikdash is going to be destroyed. I'm not going into this building. Lefisha asad Beis HaMikdash lecharev. V'alkein ma'asu oisa haboinim. And therefore the builders despised the stone. They said, we don't want this stone. Every time we try to pull it in, it falls out. Until Shlomo got the stone, and the stone said, look, Shlomo, you're a smart guy. You're a king of Israel, but I am listening to you. Because why should you build me into the Beis HaMikdash? I'm just going to be destroyed one day. So look, there are a lot of nice stones out there. Leave me alone. Leave me out of it. So Shlomo swore to the stone that even if the rest of the Beis HaMikdash will be destroyed, you will never be destroyed. Sha'afilu yechrav hakol, hi lo techar. That will not be destroyed. V'loi tazaz memakayma. And it will never be moved. V'kavuha b'kaisel. And Shlomo built it into the western wall. Hamaravi. And that is why the Kaisel Maravi was never destroyed. Hadahu d'chsev. Even moasu haboinim. The stone that the builders despised, Haisel Rosh Pina, it became the cornerstone. So this is a different shot. According to the Pegah of Lezer, Rebbeinu Shalom took the stone, and the Rebbeinu Shalom banged into the center of the world to demonstrate what? What does the world stand on? Klal Yisrael and Torah. But now we have another pshat. That the one thing of the Beis HaMikdash that was never destroyed is this stone. Why was that never destroyed? So we could say one of two things. Either we could say, because this is the stone of Yisrael and Torah. And Ein Loi LaHakadosh Baruch Hu Ba'olamo Ela David Amashal Halacha, which means that where Jews are learning, there's no Churban. That was never destroyed. That part of the Mikdash was never destroyed. Or we could say, this is the stone of Achdus. And where there's Achdus, there will never be Churban. And when there's two Achdus, then we'll be Zaycha to the Binyan, Bayis Hasidi. It's in the Sefer Tosas Hashalim. Tosas Hashalim is a collection of all the comments of the Rishonim on Chumash. The name of the Sefer is Tosas Hashalim by Rav Gliss. Not about Tosas. It's not the Das Academy Bali, but it's written. It's from one of the Bali Tosas. Okay, Rabbi say, I wish you all a good Shabbos.
You've just experienced another Torah class brought to you by TorahAnytime.com.